We've scrapped in the flesh for these streets. Now they crave only moneyed minds. Skyscrapers polished to a shine, fawning looks and voice.
Hello! Hi! And this is a video where I want to take some time to talk about the new release from Vivid Foundry, Solace State. People might know this is a game that I have not shut up about for the last probably year and a half. But I'm doing so because I had actually intended to stream my entire playthrough of that game in its entirety, as kind of evidenced by the part 1 video that you might see in my videos tab. But due to some recent back issues I've been having, I can't really sit up straight and stream for a long time, so rather than put it on the back burner until I could comfortably stream it again, I decided to go ahead and just finish the game on my own, since I've been looking forward to this game since I played the demo. I think it was back in May of last year. I will say that I do intend on circling back around to this game and doing another playthrough of it at some point, because the way this game handles its choices is really conducive to multiple playthroughs. I don't know whether that'll be like another stream attempt or a series of pre-recorded videos, but I do want to play this game again at some point and do and say some different things in my choices. But we'll get to all the choice stuff and how that actually kind of all matters here. So if you haven't watched the videos or heard of the game yet, what is Solace State? Put simply, it's a progressive / activist cyberpunk visual novel dealing with themes of systemic oppression, corpo-fascism, police brutality, generational trauma. That's really just kind of like off the top of my head too. There's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot of protesting and activism and recruiting people to the cause, and the very real dangers that come along with that type of public activism are all just highlighted very brilliantly. On top of that, there's lots of cool cyberpunk hacking, some fun espionage missions that like keep the game balanced in a way that just, it never really felt like it was like bogged down at any point. The cast of characters is extremely diverse, coming from a number of ethnic and social backgrounds, and the game explores a lot of their individual plights and how they suffer under the current society's systems in ways that really make you feel for and just like want to protect them and do what you can to help. Like it's really easy to kind of throw yourself into the activist part of this game with how this world and how oppressive it really is. You get to spend a lot of quiet moments with your new friends, and you learn about their lives and the things that they care about. And these relationships grow realistically with how you choose to converse with them. Like you're not always going to agree with everything someone else thinks, feels, or says, and Solace State has lots of moments where that's definitely the case, and that's something that I felt with the writing that was really refreshing, in that, like, while I definitely think that these are good people, maybe sometimes I don't agree with those methods, maybe I would go a different route, and the game lets you explore that and make those kinds of choices, which was always really cool and refreshing. And while it's a story that's primarily about activism and protests and occupations to stab at the heart of the oppressors, I found that the game's stories is very well balanced. While like its politics and activism are definitely the core that kind of propel the narrative forward, there's also a lot of levity and fun conversations these characters have with one another. Like the writing leaves a lot of breathing room for the characters to just be people and not necessarily needing to be a vehicle that's pushing the narrative forward. And sometimes you just want to chill out with your friends and shoot the shit and bust on one another every once in a while for a laugh. And it's all good-natured and good fun. And I like the fact that the game has those moments, because it's a break in the tension that can be needed sometimes when you're coming off of some really heavy stuff. There's also some really great action set pieces and scenes dedicated to missions that involve various types of like espionage and hacking that put our characters in a lot of real danger. These characters get to do a lot of cool, fun shit in an action movie kind of way that still feels very grounded to, you know, what you would feel like a normal human being may be capable of doing in their situation, but they can also have some fun with it and like let them do some crazy sci-fi shenanigans and crazy driving and stuff, and it's just really fun. It's this really well thought out balance though, with balancing all these various elements of the type of story that it wants to be, that really kept the story feeling fresh for me. Like there was never a dull moment because the story it just kept moving when it needed to. The big thing I really want to emphasize with Solace State is the unique way in which it handles choices in the visual novel format. Solace State doesn't compartmentalize its story into routes that your choices can put you into, like with the rest of the timeline or the characters getting memory hold to hyper-focus on like one thing or character. Like, for example, despite the fact that I chose to romance Torrent in my playthrough, it didn't really put me on like a Torrent route per se. The best way I can sort of describe Solace State's like narrative is that it's a kinetic story that's also very dynamic with how it can play out. Like the story is what it is, but your choices, which are really weighty and substantial, will resonate through the narrative in different ways. In that way, it's like you're almost weaving your own version of the story with decisions that can change small or large portions of the narrative, so you're worrying less about making the right choices for the ending you want, and you're more thinking about things in a more like a macro scale, I guess, where it's like, how is what I'm saying or doing right now affecting this person or the world? Again, it's why I feel this game is really conducive to multiple playthroughs and why I really want to revisit it again in the future. Major decision points always felt like a big deal to me. I felt like the actions or words I was choosing for Chloe mattered, and I stopped more than a few times to consider the consequences of what I was about to say and do. I don't want to pit one style of visual novel against another, because I love visual novels regardless. But I'd love to play more games with this type of feel to their choices and narrative, either in the future or if they already exist. And if they do already exist, please feel free to recommend them to me down in the comments. I really want to play more visual novels that have a story set up like this. And I don't think I have to point out to you at this point, because assumedly you've been looking at the video the whole time, that Solace State's presentation is really quite unique. It's sharp, it's slick, it's hugely dynamic. The way the camera just kind of careens through the cityscape like a drone through a diorama is something that it just kept impressing me. It makes the city itself feel like a character on its own. And there are a lot of points where, like, bits of narrative are just kind of, like, layered onto the buildings and the signage and the asphalt. And that makes it feel like the lives and the stories of these people are, like, tattooing the environment with their story. And that's an effect that it just never stopped being striking to me. And the music! The tunes! They're so good! The title theme has literally been stuck in my stupid head since the damn game came out, but there's great tunes like all over the place that really accentuate the tension, the quietness, and the upbeat action sequences. It's just all composed really well with lots of melodies that are easy to recall. Like I can literally sit here and think of like 3 or 4 pieces off the top of my head that's just like, yep, like I remember scenes that was in. And everything is just used really well, and it's where it should be. I guess in the end, if I'm going to say anything, I think Solace State is a very cool and interesting and unique piece of work. You can definitely feel that there's a deeply emotional core at the center of everything, and a lot of it feels very lived and honest. I ended up super happy with the 14 hours it took me to see this revolution to its climax. It tackles the issues it's taking on in ways that I don't know that I've seen before, and it does so with a lot of confidence and heart. I think Solid State is definitely a visual novel people should check out, whether you're into them already or not. It's not about playing anyone against each other here, but I'm really impressed with how cool and unique this one manages to be, and I think you will be too. So, if you're looking for something really, really interesting and cool in your visual novel experience, I don't think you can go wrong with Solace State at all.